Tkay Maidza, Sweet Justice, album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning. Here tonight to chat about this latest album from Tkay Maidza. She is a singer-songwriter based out of Australia. She's been at it for a while now, and she started turning some heads with her self-titled debut album, and I've got a lot of conflicting thoughts on it. On one hand, this was a very colorful album that blended in elements of everything from pop rap to synth pop to dance to R&B and more, and a lot of it is really fun. But as this project went on and on and on, because it is a long one, I just worried that she was hopping around a little too much, and by the end of it I thought she was pulling more from her contemporaries than doing anything new. Now, a couple of years later, she started dropping a string of last year was weird EPs. The first one I once again had a lot of mixed thoughts on. The bangers here, they are great. They are a lot of fun. But when this thing got rough around the edges, which it often did, I'm looking directly at that track with Duckworth, my God, this thing went downhill very fast. However, with her follow-up EP, Last Year Was Weird, Volume 2, I felt like Tkay really did come into her own here. Much like her debut album, this was a colorful blast of pop, rap, R&B, dance, and more, but packaged up nicely, little bow on it with some really electric performances. Oh yeah, and J-Peg Mafia is on this thing. But I did think her final volume, Last Year Was Weird, Volume 3, was the worst of the three by far. Yeah, there was one or two moments on here that I did enjoy, but overall, the ideas here were getting a little stale. I felt like she was ready to move on, and lo and behold, here we are with her second album, Sweet Justice, which leading up to it, I thought the singles were a little all over the place, and not so surprisingly, this album is also all over the place. Love and Other Drugs kicks this album off, and to be honest, it's fantastic when Tkay is focused. This is a really fun project, and the good material here is among her best material. I love this track as an intro. It is a great start to the album. Love the beat, has some definite nods to neo-psych as well. It's super steamy, but it's also really colorful, and I love Tkay's performance on this track. Her confidence is absolutely booming here. It is filled by an immense amount of swagger and some really sassy one-liners. It is sharp. It's an intoxicating track all around. Out of Luck, I think it's the best track here, and a phenomenal single. This one features Lolo Zouai and Amber Mark, who I'm always happy to hear. This track packs some serious heat with some sleek funk and some just really colorful performances once again. It's equal parts sweet and sassy, and I do really love this colorful, very bouncy beat. It really does play to all three ladies and their contributions here. It's an awesome single, and this year has been monumental for R&B, and this is just as good as anything else that's been put out this year. The transition into What You Know is done really well. I mean, once again, this is a Tkay Maidza project. Don't be surprised if you hear elements of dance pop in, and pop rap, and R&B. But it comes off really fresh, really focused, and most importantly, Tkay sounds like she's in control. It's flashy, and it is very cleanly produced. If that's something that you're not into, I get it. Just skip this. But this track, it's got me up and grooving. I love it. And love again, tracks like this just make me smile. This beat is really hard to place, and it just seemingly is taking in so many different influences from a dozen different genres. That excites me. That's where I like hearing Tkay the most. But it doesn't come off as sloppy. It comes off as super confident, and once that beat really gets going, this just becomes hypnotic. Also, her performance here, she is 100% up to the big shoes that this track has. Her vocals sound fantastic here. But consistency, my friends, we've been talking about it a lot lately, whether it be on the new Kevin Abstract album or numerous other albums that have dropped recently. There's a lot of consistency issues going around right now. But then I hear tracks like WUACV, Woke Up and Chose Violence. This was a single. And now, this would not be a Tkay project without her hippity-hopping from genre to genre. And I understand the hype behind this single. A lot of people love this thing. It is much more heavy and gritty and dark in the hip-hop side of things. And I get the appeal. I totally do. It's a call to action, or should I say anger. But I would argue that there's probably 4 or 5 other tracks on this album that does this sound a lot better. I like the heavier sound, the beat is righteous, but I'm not sold on her performance here. Yeah, after all these years, I still feel like she hops around a little bit too much, and it's catching up to her. 1-1, honestly, I think this is the worst track here. This is a disaster. Why does this sound so dated? I mean, hear me out. If you break down this track element by element, it does sound like one of her own. But this also sounds like it was ripped kicking and screaming out of the early 2000s R&B era, which I'm not opposed to. I love that era of R&B myself. I lived through it, but she is not bringing anything new to the table. Tkay has so much more personality and swagger than this. She could just do a lot better. My thoughts on Ring-a-Ling have been all over the place. On one hand, I do really like the weirdo left field groove that we get here. This beat is certainly a wild one. And listen, Tkay puts her heart into this. This is another very sultry, very sassy jam. But lyrically, we have hit such a low that I just don't even want to think about it. Every time this chorus rolls around, I want to pull my hair out. A lot of the same issues throw up on free throws. Once again, huge shout out to the beat. I'd argue it's one of the most interesting here. I just wish Tkay just showed up outside of that, because everything else about this track is totally phoned in. It's 2 minutes and 18 seconds, but it is one of the longest 2 minutes and 18 seconds I've heard all year. Also, Gone to the West. I saw that Duckworth feature. Coming down the pipe, and I got worried, and my worries were absolutely correct. This is easily the most obnoxious, awkward, and not interesting track here. The sample which they ripped from, which is blatantly obvious, it's fine. I actually don't hate it, but Tkay does not sound sold on this, and Duckworth does not add anything. At all. Nothing. It's far from perfect, but I will say the good material here is really, really good. Like WASP, for example. This takes the old school steaminess of 1-1 and does it like the right way. The shiny production and the pulsating synths, it's all I needed. All the while just remaining sexy, courageous, and just nice on the ears. It's an awesome blend of genres. Ghost is really good too. I love the bubbly throwback dance groove. Like, this is a beat that I love hearing Tkay on, and this is one of my favorite tracks here. It's also one of her most confident and infectious tracks here. Like, she sounds ready to take this sort of hip house genre and turn it on its head with this track alone. Silent Assassin may be the best deep cut here. This track rules. I love the sense of urgency here and just the wild-eyed nature of everything. The production, the beat, the rhymes here are so fierce and cutting. It's the kind of risk that I wish she took more of. Our Way, it's really good too. I mean, I love this synth-driven beat that sounds like it was ripped right out of Super Mario 64. But for a more R&B tinged track here, look no further. It is just so confident and heart-wrenching. It's perfect for her. It's one of the most instantaneous cuts here. And Walking on Air, I feel like it actually does the trick for a finale. I think it's great. I love the airy synths and the funky beat. It's sweet on the ears, sweeter on the sentiment, and her vocals arguably may be the best of this album. Not to mention her rap verse here, easily her most confident and hypnotic verse here. It makes me want to hear more of that. This album is still such a mixed bag. I don't hate that Tkay likes to bounce around from genre to genre. It's what makes showing up to her projects so exciting. I just wish the consistency was here, because the reality is a lot of the material here, it's some of her best and most instantaneous work to date by far. My only issue is this is a long album. There's a lot of tracks here. And when this thing gets off the rails, it goes down very, very quickly. Like, God, the bad tracks here are so unbelievably obnoxious that I can't give this much higher than a light 6. But let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.